being a utility in British Columbia, Canada, we were motivated to make sure that we were making the right decisions when it came from an asset investment process. So we were encouraged by our regulator to look at opportunities to find systems that could help us ensure that we were making the right choice when it came to our asset investment planning process. After an extensive RFP process, we actually went through a bunch of demos and looked at a bunch of products. It was 7-8 years ago, and Copperleaf was certainly the number one pick for our organization. They met all the criteria that we were looking for, and with the right stakeholders looking at the product, we had our asset management team, me representing the technology group, and a number of other folks that are involved in asset management within the organization at the senior level, looked at the response from Copperleaf and decided it was going to be the best product for Fortis BC. Stakeholders are critical when you're talking about an asset investment planning tool, because you all have to agree on what the weighting criteria should be to make the right choices. In our case, we actually shared that criteria with our regulators so that they could understand how we were making our decisions and using the Copperleaf asset investment planning tool to help us make those decisions. With that, we were able to come up with a group of criteria and weighting criteria that enabled us to make decisions on asset investments and projects that was defensible, understandable, and made sense from an organization perspective as well as from our regulators' perspective. It takes a lot of energy to get the weighting criteria just where it needs to be so that it makes sense for all assets, not just one type of asset. We did take a staged approach, working on our gas assets initially and then our electric assets after. Some fine nuances and some differences, but generally once you understand how the weighting process works, weighting for different asset classes wasn't that difficult. And in the end, we ended up with a similar set of criteria, so it made it very easy for the regulator to understand why we were making the decisions we were making from an investment standpoint. One of the criteria for the project was that we wanted to save the effort that we were doing developing business cases for these projects. There's a lot of energy and time that goes into developing business cases. When you have a tool that collects all the information, it can generate a good portion of those business cases automatically so that you don't have the development time that it takes normally to build a business case. That actually decreased the effort on the business case side. Interestingly, asset investment planning can identify the fact that you may need to invest more than you had initially planned. If you use the weighting criteria correctly, and the regulator will understand it at that point for a regulated business like ours. So it was actually a kind of a double benefit. It's always good to be able to rationalize your investment, and it's always good from a shareholder perspective to make sure your investment is well spent and maximize your earnings. We are all very excited because we collect a lot of data around our assets, control system data, we have historian data. Being able to associate that real-time and real structured data into our asset investment planning from a capacity perspective, from a longevity perspective, from a maintenance perspective, will actually improve our ability to plan our investments, as well as improve the clarity for the regulator as to why we're spending on these products. And we have real data to back it up. With AI, we'll be able to associate that information through our asset investment planning tool all the way through our enterprise asset management. That chain will be brought together with AI, and that's the ultimate objective.